The hospital room smelled of disinfectant and quiet fear. Machines hummed softly, counting seconds no one wanted to count. She sat upright in the chair, her back straight, her hands folded tightly in her lap as if holding herself together. Every breath felt heavy, but her face showed calm, the kind only mothers learn to wear when their hearts are breaking. In the next room, her son lay waiting. She could almost picture him the way he was as a child, running, barefoot through the house, laughing loudly, calling her name whenever he scraped a knee or felt scared. That same boy was now a grown man, fragile, dependent on machines, dependent on her. When the doctor explained the risks, his voice was careful, professional. He spoke of complications, recovery time, pain, and uncertainty. She listened quietly, nodding once or twice. Inside, though, she had already decided, a mother doesn't weigh her own safety against her child's life. She never has. She picked up the pen. Her hand trembled, not from fear, but from the finality of the moment. With one signature, she was offering a part of herself so her son could live. Tears filled her eyes, but none fell. She would not cry here. Not now. She thought of her grandson, the boy who still hugged her too tight, who still believed she could fix anything. She hoped he would understand one day why she chose this. As the papers were collected and the nurse gave her a gentle smile, she felt a strange peace settle over her. She believed the family was united. She believed love was enough. She believed there were no secrets left to uncover. She was wrong. The morning of the surgery arrived faster than she expected, like a door slamming shut before she could catch her breath. Nurses moved with quiet urgency, their shoes squeaking softly against the polished hospital floors. Voices were low, instructions clipped and practiced. Everything felt rushed, as if the world itself was trying to outrun her thoughts. She was guided into the waiting area. Dressed in a thin hospital gown, her personal belongings folded away neatly, glasses, purse, sweater, set aside as though her old life had already been paused. Across from her sat her grandson. He was unusually quiet, no restless questions, no phone glowing in his hands, just silence. His small shoulders were stiff, his fingers twisting the edge of his hoodie again and again, the fabric already worn thin by his grip. He stared at the floor like it held answers he was afraid to look up from. She reached out and wrapped her fingers around his hand. It was cold. "You okay, baby?" she asked softly, forcing a gentle smile. He nodded, but didn't lift his eyes. She had seen fear before, first days of school. Loud thunderstorms, nights ruined by bad dreams. This was different. This fear was heavier, older. The kind that doesn't come from imagination, but from knowing too much. Around them, families filled the room with quiet grief. Some whispered prayers under their breath. Others stared blankly at the walls. A woman cried openly into her husband's shoulder. Time stretched and folded in strange, cruel ways. Every minute felt like an hour. Every announcement echoed too loudly. She tried to steady herself. Everything was prepared. Doctors were ready. Tests were done. This was the right thing. This was what a mother does. Still, her grandson's silence pressed against her chest. She studied his face, searching for reassurance, for a smile, a joke, anything familiar. Instead, she saw conflict, fear tangled with guilt, like he was holding something far too heavy for his young heart. Then a nurse called her name. She stood slowly, her legs unsteady but determined. This was it. The moment she had accepted. Her grandson's grip tightened suddenly, fingers digging into her hand. "Grandma," he whispered, his voice breaking. She turned back toward him, and in that moment something deep inside her shifted, an unexplained ache, a quiet warning, like her heart already knew the truth before her mind did. Before the nurse could take another step, the boy stood up. The movement was sudden, sharp enough to cut through the noise of the waiting room. His legs trembled beneath him, knees locked as if they might give out at any moment. His hands were clenched into fists, his chest rising too fast, too shallow. When he tried to speak, his voice cracked under the weight of fear, but he spoke anyway. He said there was something they needed to know, something he had heard late at night, lying awake in his bed, pretending to sleep while grown-ups whispered behind closed doors. Something his father had said to someone else, in a voice meant to stay hidden, something no one ever planned to tell her. Each word fell into the room like broken glass. The doctor stopped mid-step. The nurse froze where she stood. Conversations around them slowly faded, swallowed by a thick, uncomfortable silence. Every eye turned toward the child who should never have been forced to carry this truth. Her son looked away. That was when she understood. The secret unraveled quickly after that, half-truths spoken too late, risks softened to sound harmless, alternatives never mentioned. The donation was not as simple as she had been led to believe. The danger was greater. The surgery was not the only option. The sacrifice was not necessary in the way she had been told. Her heart didn't shatter loudly. It cracked quietly, painfully, like something fragile breaking where no one could see, not because she feared giving her kidney, but because the truth had been kept from her. Doctors stepped aside, voices low and urgent. Medical files were reopened. Test results were reviewed again, this time with honesty instead of urgency. The surgery was paused. Her grandson stood there, tears streaming freely now, apologizing again and again, his small shoulders shaking beneath the weight of guilt. She crossed the room and pulled him into her arms. His head pressed into her chest as he cried. "You did the right thing," she whispered, holding him tighter than ever. And in that moment, she knew courage doesn't always come from strength. Sometimes it comes from telling the truth when it hurts the most. The surgery was officially canceled. The words echoed in her mind, but they didn't cut the way she expected. Instead, they felt like air rushing back into her lungs after being held underwater for too long. Relief mixed with grief, love tangled with disappointment. She didn't know whether to cry or breathe, or both. She sat quietly in the hallway, her back against the cold wall, holding her grandson close. His small body shook as he sobbed, the weight he had carried finally released. Each breath he took felt like proof that telling the truth had saved more than one life that day. That day she learned something painful but powerful. Love does not mean destroying yourself for someone who won't be honest with you. Sacrifice only has meaning when it is built on truth. She thought of all the moments she had said yes without question, all the times she had chosen silence over confrontation, all the ways motherhood had taught her to give without asking why. And for the first time, she realized that love without honesty slowly becomes harm. Her son eventually stood in front of her. He didn't speak at first. He didn't have to. Shame was written across his face, heavy, undeniable. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse him. She simply nodded, acknowledging something far more painful than surgery being canceled. Trust had been broken, and not everything broken can be fixed. Her grandson had saved her life that day, not with strength, not with age, but with courage. As they walked out of the hospital together, sunlight pouring through the glass doors, she held his hand tightly. She felt older, but wiser, softer, but stronger, and she wondered how many people would still say yes if the truth came out at the very last second. She hoped that anyone hearing her story would pause and ask themselves the same question.